Hello, 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 and welcome to the Boxing Locker. I am Matt Goddard, former professional boxer, now boxing coach, and as always, I am here today to talk to you about a bit of boxing. So, I got asked a question on Instagram, a good question, a clever question, because there's a lot of phrases that are used in boxing that aren't explained very well, very precisely, or in enough detail. They're demonstrated often, but not explained very well, and for some people, it's hard to do something without understanding why, the reasoning, the functionality. That question was, what is snapping your punches? Essentially, what is snapping your punches, right? So when you punch, you hear a guy with a bit of a good whack and they'll go, oh, he's snapping them shots in, lovely. Coaches say, snap them in, throw your punches with a bit of snap. What does that mean, okay? So first and foremost, I'll take you through a few other things, right? So you have different kinds of punches, right? You've got arm punches. Now, arm punchers are guys that move their arms a lot. There's not a lot of rotation. They've often got great hand speed. They lack single punch power. There's a lot of cumulative impact to the shots, but they're not throwing their punch with any real impact. So guys can walk them down and break through their shots, and they do very little damage. The chances of them knocking people out are incredibly low. Often that happens as a result of either bad coaching, injuries like hand injuries and things that prevent people punching particularly hard, or just pure style that's developed from the amateur days of kind of point scoring, trying to win, so they're touching with their punches rather than really committing to them and throwing them with the intent to do damage. The second type of people are push punchers. Now they're people who impact the target and then leave their hand there driving through without actually snapping through, okay? I'll explain the snap in a second, but they just push the target. So they're hitting and pushing. You see this with a lot of big guys who assume they can punch really hard, but actually often when they're knocking people down, it's just knocking them over. It's not actually shaking them, wobbling the head, or doing a great deal of damage with regards to concussion, that kind of impact that we're trying to achieve when we hit people. It's just kind of thudding, dull, slow, labored, cumbersome blows that sort of knock people over as opposed to really putting them to sleep. And then you have kind of clubbers. Now, clubbers are people who lose the speed of their punches really early, and so even though their punch has snap, they're throwing everything and it just is all at one pace, and so it doesn't have a great deal of impact. Like, it will hurt. The more you get hit, the more damage they'll do to you. It's kind of, again, a cumulative impact. They're a bit harder than arm punchers, but them clubbing blows need to be sustained to do a great deal of damage. Now, somebody who snaps their punches, right? This is an important one. Somebody who snaps their punches. You hear people say throw a punch, okay? Now, to throw a punch, you need to generate as much speed as possible through the movement, okay? If I'm throwing a ball, I don't go and do it really slowly and expect the ball to go anywhere. A punch is much the same thing. So I'm trying to get from A to B as fast, with as much force as I can, right? As fast and with as much force as I can. So here, A, B, whap, back. Now, the back is an important factor, okay? So you imagine my target is here. I throw through, I snap back, okay? So I'm trying to get the maximum extension through the target, 6 to 10 inches through the target, or whip it back and retract it with speed. Bap, bap, okay? That's one factor of snap, okay? So the speed of my arm moving creates more velocity. The more velocity creates more power. The more power, the more damage you do, okay? So that's factor one in snap. Factor two in snap is rotation, okay? If I just do this as fast as I can, that's an arm punch, okay? It's quick, looks reasonably good if you throw lots of them. It's gonna do very little damage in the long run against professional fighters, you know? If I'm in there with an absolute novice and I'm going, bap, 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 they're gonna go, whoa, that was quick, what am I gonna do? Experienced fighters will ignore it and beat the crap out of you, okay? So we want that speed through the arm, extension and retraction as fast as you can. And then we generate as much force as possible around the center line of our body, okay? So we're going to hit and whip him back. Whap, 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 whap. The harder you rotate from the ground up, the more force you can generate. That doesn't mean you need to pivot your lead foot. Please don't mistake me for that, okay? Use the ground to generate force around your hips. Let your knees sway inwards, let your feet roll. You don't need to pivot that front foot all the time. The back foot pivots when you need greater extension, and only then. But the hips and shoulders rotate with as much force as possible. That's factor two. You have to rotate from here, back, back. See how far back my left shoulder's going? snap. The third factor is relaxation. If you're tense, you cannot generate snap. You cannot generate that force because it's going to slow you down. You're holding too much energy in the muscles. You're gonna tire the muscle out a lot sooner, and you're not going to get that same speed through the punch. So we can't be tense. We have to be relaxed. Relaxation through the correct plane of movement with as much force generated as possible through the rotation of your body and as much speed as possible. I've spoken about this before. There's lots of other factors in power punching, but snap is different to punching with power, okay? So real knockout artists, power punchers put people to sleep all the time. Snap is something that good technique gives you. If you have good technique, you will generate snap in your shots. You snap from the shoulder, you have that real loose kind of firing ability. Whop, bop, 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 bop. It looks like your shots are kind of exploding and driving out. It's that real kind of loose whip effect, right? That's what we need with our shots. Same as when you throw a ball, you throw it as hard as you can. You don't get to this point and then slow down. There's no diminishing of speed or velocity or power or intent. It's the same with punching. That's why you see clubbers. Their punches slow down as they get nearer to the target. Oosh, oosh, oosh. We want to be speeding up, bop, as much as possible, past the point of impact, and then back in, crossing that center line just fractionally every time, so that we don't overcommit, but we get as much force as we can through that plane of movement. Now, you look at guys that could snap punches properly. It's something that's really rare in this modern generation, comparatively. If you look back to the golden era with the likes of Duran, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Aaron Pryor, Alexis Arguello, there's a plethora of names in that generation that were all great. Wilfred Benitez, can't believe I've forgotten. Wilfred Benitez. There is a plethora of names in that generation that were just exceptionally snappy punches. That's where every punch was just whip, 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 whip. And that hand speed, that ability to put punches together with power, to throw combinations without losing power, without looking clubby, arm punchy, or slow. That's snap. That's how you throw your shots. So when you hit a bag, you're not trying to push the bag. You're trying to drive into it and whip it back. You're trying to whip into it and whip it back. You're not trying to push the bag, trying to impact it as hard as you can and then retract as hard as you can, throwing the next shot, using the rotation to then segue into the next punch. Okay, so a broad explanation, a difficult thing to do without demonstrating on somebody the difference between a snapping punch and not, which is almost impossible because you would need somebody to just stand and go, yeah, hit me with 3 different types of punches, an arm punch, a push punch, and then a snapping punch, which the chances of that ever happening are very low. If anyone wants to volunteer, let me know, come down to the gym and I'll use you for a demo. We'll call you a crash test dummy. So yeah, that's snap, guys. So the 3 main factors are, excuse me, the 3 main factors are speed through the arm, on the retraction and the extension, not one or the other. Speed and power through the rotation, engage the core, whip, 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 whip around that center line. The harder you rotate, the harder you can punch. And the third thing is relaxation. Without relaxation, you cannot snap your punches. You have to be really relaxed, letting everything drive into it. There's a looseness of the shoulder that lets you fire that out with that whiplash, that whip-like effect that I mentioned earlier. So that's what we're looking to do. Snap the shots in, not push them, not punch with the arms, not club and slow down as we're punching. There we have it, guys. That's snapping your punches. Hopefully it helped. To the person who asked the question on Instagram, if you're on my YouTube channel, thank you for that. It was a great question. Everybody else, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Any other questions, ask. Happy to answer all of them. Any suggestions for videos, let me know. And please do like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I appreciate you all. Take care.